Hello, Tom Jeffries, HowStreet.com here in Vancouver. We're on the YouTube channel. Thank you for dropping by. If you've ever thought about investing in precious metals or talk about mining, we've got one of the world's top experts with us today, Mr. David Morgan, Silver-Investor.com, editor and publisher of the Morgan Report. David, good to have you with us.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be here in Vancouver and cooling off a little bit.
It's good to have you with us. We talk regularly here on HowStreet.com. Let's talk silver, your main bailiwick. Boy, it's had a heck of a run since January, David.
Yeah, it's had a heck of a run since January, and actually the month of May, it did the best it's done in 22 years. We got such an upsurge in silver, and it actually surprised me a bit. I thought we could see $15, and we got well beyond that, got to the $16 level. Right now, as we're doing this interview, it's starting to top. Whether or not it's going to surge higher or not remains to be seen.
Let's talk about some of the underlying stocks. You cover juniors, you talk to the majors. I noticed in the juniors, say in the Vancouver Stock Exchange, they've been flat on the you-know-what for a while. Starting to percolate a little bit. Do you think it's going to be a fairly interesting summer and late fall?
You know, I really think it's going to be similar. There's a great seasonality for the metals, and it is that they're usually not that great in the summertime. The May time period is when the Indians from India end their wedding season, so that usually surges the physical price. After that, the European jewelers go on these long vacations, and that usually causes less buying activity. But you know, there's always that year that it's not going to pertain to the seasonality, and this year could be that year.
We've interviewed a number of times on HowStreet.com, and recently, up until a year ago, we're having trouble getting physical silver in some areas of the world. Are we okay for physical silver now in the States and Canada?
Yeah, we are. It's been about a 9-month wait, but right now the premiums have come way back down. They've narrowed quite a bit, and the physical supply is much greater than it was over the last several months. So yeah, there's a lot of supply, not a lot, there's plenty of supply right now, and the premiums have backed off. And this is something I was a little fearful about, because there were some other commentators out there that were kind of painting a picture that, you know, this is it, it's all over, the premiums are going to be high forever. And I'm a little more conservative in my view. I thought, you know what, sooner or later the premiums probably will shrink, and they have.
For people that don't have precious metals in their portfolio, silver or gold, why do you think it's a good idea to have some silver and some gold?
Well, I wrote an article recently, and it's one of my pet peeves, that all the dealers that I've dealt with over the years always say the same thing. And I think everyone ought to own a little. So I define the word everyone, and I define the word a little. And the metals are much too precious for everyone to own a little. But I do believe that if you're serious and you can get it, and you can now obviously, silver's the most liquid between the two. I mean, you can buy a steak with a silver dollar, but with the same size coin gold, you have to buy the whole cow. So basically, I think really it's good to have both. Silver is like a NASDAQ stock. It has bigger moves up and down, whereas gold is more like a Dow stock. It's more conservative. But it really, anyone that's thinking throughout this sector really should spice up their portfolio by having silver investments as well as gold investments.
What do you tell your Morgan Report readers around the world about the macroeconomic outlook in the United States as we speak?
Can I just do a facial expression?
Go ahead.
It's not the end of the world, but we're getting closer. It's probably the end of the experiment for the umpteenth time in an unbacked fiat monetary system. Unfortunately, this time it's a worldwide phenomenon. You can go back on my website and read stuff like dollar.com that I wrote back probably 8 or 9 years ago. And I forecasted this along with several others, but we're there now. And pushing more paper into the system is not going to solve the problem. That's the big issue. So what we're going to have to do is really downsize, rethink our motivations, and really get serious about the physical economy. What do we really need? Well, we need food, we need water, we need energy, we need transportation, and we're going to have to revisit all of those things on a much more direct level than we're doing right now. Right now we're pretending that everything's going to be okay as long as we just shovel enough dollars into the system. That will not work.
Silver-Investor.com, by the way, is the website, the Morgan Report that David works on. You travel the world. What's the feeling of people looking towards the United States and the debt problems in the States? Are people starting to get a little worried in the central banks around the world, do you think?
Absolutely. I'd say, you know, from my perspective, and I do travel the world, the dollar is suspect now, and it has been for quite some time. Basically, all our foreign trading partners have had enough of the US dollar. And that is what I think is the precursor to a currency crisis. And it doesn't, again, mean the end of the world, but what it does mean is that the reserve currency of the world is on thin ice right now, and there may be some other type of global currency system in the wings, and it may be gold-backed, it may not be, it may be commodity-based, no one knows for sure, but I do believe you're going to see the demise of the US dollar in the next few years.
We've talked about that horrible word stagflation a number of times. Does it feel like stagflation in the 70s is repeating itself?
Yes, I think, but on steroids. I mean, there's areas, I mean, the unemployment level in the United States is accelerating. Everything's accelerating to the downside right now. So it's going to be impossible to bring back the physical economy, as I said earlier, by just printing more money. That won't solve the problem. You've got to address the problem, and none of the politicians in the U.S. are willing to address the problem. The problem is that we've lost our industrial base, we've lost our productive capacity. Wealth is what you produce. The United States produces information. Well, I'm sorry, folks, that's not enough to live on.
Kids are at university watching this right now, and they've got a chance to change their major from an MBA or business degree. What should they do?
Well, I think engineering. Of course, I'm prejudiced. I'm a degreed engineer, but I think anything in the food industry, the water industry, tech is okay, and thinking outside the box. Don't just go with the university degree. Think outside of what you were taught. Use that as a basis only, and keep learning your whole life.
That's a great aphorism too, and you talk about economics. When I went to school, it was all Keynesian economics. I'd never heard of the Austrian school. You're an Austrian school. It's tough to explain, but in a couple of sentences, what does that really mean?
I think the easiest way to explain is just go to mises.org, mises.org, and start to read. You'll understand what it's about. It's basically how the physical economy truly works.
Talking about the new era, is it my imagination or thing? You talk about acceleration. We're seeing moves in some currencies 2, 3, 5% a day. Was this ever thus, or is this just a new phenomenon?
It's a very much of a fact, reflecting back to us as a society or as a global economy. The more instability there is, or the less there's that we're unsure about where we're going, the more volatility you see across the board. And that's being manifest in the currencies, in the precious metals, in the commodity sector, in the stock market. Because basically the question is this: where do I put my money to be safe? And the answer is, I don't know. So you get these huge swings all over the place. The safest place for 5,000 years, the physical precious metals. After that, you want natural resource stocks or food stuffs, that type of thing, what we absolutely need. So we need energy, we need water, we need food, and metals protect your wealth. So that's where you want to focus right now.
So you're looking at the yields, the long bond of the United States is starting to creep up. Do you think interest rates are going to start peaking as all those people out there are thinking about renewing their mortgages, David?
Well, I think it's going to take place, as you hint, but I think longer term you're going to see the market force interest rates even higher. So I think we're going to get a bit of a lull here for a while. People will have that opportunity. Longer term, interest rates are based on two things: yield, which everyone thinks about, but they're based on risk. The risk of holding the US dollar is getting more and more risky daily. As that permeates throughout the marketplace, the market itself will force up interest rates. So I'm seeing much higher interest rates for the long bond and the 10-year note and even treasuries in the not too distant future.
The Fed was supposed to be driving this bus. Do you think they're driving it, or the market driving it?
I think the market's driving it right now.
Yeah. Talking about Timothy Geithner recently, Timothy Geithner, sorry, was speaking in Beijing, and actually the Chinese audience laughed at him when he said the strong dollar policy. That's a very strong sign. Chinese are pretty circumspect, aren't they?
Absolutely. No, again, it's a sign that, look, the end is here, more or less. I mean, I really think the end came in August of 2007. 2008 is when it manifested, almost everybody saw it. And now you're getting the Chinese laughing at Geithner. Hey, look, just wake up and look. It's over. We're going to have to redesign the system.
David Morgan has been our guest here at HowStreet.com, here on the YouTube channel. Visit David and his team at silver-investor.com. The Morgan Report goes out monthly around the world, and take it from me on a personal note, full disclosure, I read it every month myself. David, good to see you, and come back anytime.
Thanks so much.
David Morgan. My name's Tom Jeffries. Thanks for tuning in here at HowStreet.com's YouTube channel, and have a great day.
Comments made on HowStreet Video and HowStreet.com are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at HowStreet.com. HowStreet Video is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.